Hello, everybody. My name is Lisa White with IVF Manifesting a Miracle, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to my friend DesiRae Kraft. She's here in Denver, Colorado, and she is a soul and empowerment coach. She helps women in multiple areas of their life really step into their power, and I'll let her share a bit more about that. But I'm so excited to have her on for a soul sister conversation. So welcome, Des.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here for so many different reasons, as why Lisa's probably invited me on, and so many other amazing people she has on these interviews to really help empower anybody listening to be the best version of themselves. And, ultimately what I love to say, so I'm a soul and empowerment coach. At my essence, I really came into this world as a soul catalyst. So, really helping women come home to themselves. And I think that's really key, is so often we lose ourselves outside of ourselves and forget who we are. And so I help women really reignite that, which has been there this entire time, to really come home to turning their souls on in every facet of their life.
And speaking to the women who are listening who are going through fertility challenges, and I know you haven't personally experienced infertility challenges yourself, but you can definitely identify with times in your life where maybe you have kind of gone off course or lost yourself, and you've had some pretty significant moments in your life that shifted things pretty dramatically for you. Can you share a little bit kind of about, I know you've had a long 14 years in finance before you propelled yourself into this new career that you started and starting your own business. And I met you kind of right around at that time. Was it 2015 or 2016?
I launched my business in 2016 and left my career, but you and I knew each other before that. So I think we met in about 14 or 15.
Yeah, I was right at the start in starting fertility treatments. So you were right there from the beginning, and we were reading all these empowering books. And I think it was Inspired and Unstoppable was one of the book clubs we were in together.
We are on similar, different journeys, but on similar timelines to what we were experiencing in our lives to catapult us, so to speak.
Yeah, and you've just really, I admire so many qualities about you. I mean, fierce is like a word that I always think of when I think of you. Like, you're fierce, you embody, you are just unapologetic. And were you always like that? Because I feel like you kind of stepped into that power around that 2016 time. Can you kind of preface a little bit, share with people what you were going through?
Absolutely. I'll speak kind of high level, but and I can elaborate more too. So, I think most women in general, and men can totally relate, but I'm going to speak to the women. Most women, we start giving our power away at a very young age. And that can be related to anything. That can be related to our sexuality, to speaking our voice, to feeling confident, to feeling loved, to feeling that we love ourselves. I mean, this is every facet of anything. It can even come down to the fact that society, culture, and maybe potentially our parents tell us to go seek a certain career, get the job, have the 401k, do all of the things.
Have the baby.
Have the baby, get married and have a baby and have the career and do all the things, right? Or you are shamed for not having one or the other. And so for me, I'm almost 35, but for me, I had started a corporate career at 19 and really dove into finance. So for years, I built this career for myself. And, but at the essence of who I was, I've always been interested in soul work and energy work and healing. And so for me, that's always been my passion. So for years, of course, I built this great career in corporate and finance, but the essence of all of that, I was codependent. I was insecure. I didn't love myself. Now, keep in mind, I didn't know I didn't love myself. It was more of a outer body experience, which I think most women can relate to. Why am I unhappy? Why am I in these bad relationships? Or why is this thing that I want, right? Which I think most women can relate to anything in your life. Listening, ladies, what is this one thing that you really want? You can't have it, or you want it, but maybe there's all these hurdles, right, that keep happening. And so for me, I had a great career, but I wasn't happy. I didn't love my body. I'm very curvy. I'm part Panamanian. I got hips and ass for days, all of these things, but also I wasn't having healthy relationships. Why is it that I was grateful for my life, but I was so unhappy? And so for me, what really started That for me, and I can elaborate on this, was a tragedy in my life. Happened in 2012. My stepfather, who raised me, and my mother were in a tragic motorcycle accident. And so that was in 2012. At the time, I was 27, and that was my wake-up call. My mom ended up with a shattered body. She came home 6 months later, learning how to walk again. I won't go into all the gory details, but it was bad. And when she came home a widow. My father, who I consider my father, who raised me, died within minutes. And I can easily talk about this now because it's been almost 8 years, but it was not an easy journey. It was my catalyst to facing all of the shit that I was wanting to avoid. And we do that, ladies. We do that now, whether we've done the work or not. We avoid seeing the thing, right? We avoid seeing the wound. We avoid wanting to face. We avoid wanting to move through the emotions, through the fear, through the pain, through the confusion, through the shame, through whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just got goosebumps. We avoid moving through, but that is such the beautiful journey and the key. And so unfortunately for me, this horrible tragedy happened. But as I say to a lot of people, I want you to see this now. I want you to know that the biggest thing you can do is to move through. And so for me, the catalyst was me moving through, why am I codependent? Why don't I love my body? Who am I trying to please? And why am I not trying to please and love myself first? And so for me, that was a catalyst, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I fully surrendered and faced all of the shit. And it was shit. And we all have shit, let's be real, but we have to face it. And sometimes that means it's one at a time. I think we can get overwhelmed. My journey took a good 3 or 4 years to get to the meat of me really healing and shifting, that I launched my business 4 years later after the accident. Mm-hmm. But I think we can get overwhelmed that there's all of these things I want to fix or do or change.
Yeah.
But it's also really stepping into your sovereignty and discernment of what is actually makes you who you are, that you can lovingly accept, and what are the parts of you that there is healing or trauma or something you want to truly face, to surrender and heal it, to kind of release that, to receive it. I mean, and I can go into more details.
Yeah. No, I mean, I really appreciate how you bring in sitting in the emotion. And I talk a lot about that too in my book, and like writing about that, because it's just that those emotions and that pain is there to teach us and to guide us. And if we avoid it, like, it's just going to come back even like stronger, right? So it's like you have to work through that. And how were some of the ways that you worked through it? I mean, were you writing, journaling? Were you, how did you kind of like sit with that pain in your life at that time? How did you work through it?
Yeah, good question. I really say my saving grace was my background. So even though I was in corporate, I'm not the typical corporate person. At my core, I'm like a hippie, spiritual, woo-woo psychic at heart. I am a psychic, but since I was little, I've been very spiritually connected. And I started really diving in and being literally spiritually pulled to learning about Eastern medicine and energy work and meditation, and really linking, the mind and the body. And so for me, so I have a psychology degree, but I also have a minor in Eastern medicine. So I have over 15 years experience of psychology and Eastern medicine. So for me, I knew that the mind and body are connected, but not until the accident, I actually used what I learned. So I would say if you're new to that, the best place for me that I love to start is really learning energetically where your blockages are. So there's a plethora of knowledge out there, but spiritually we are connected. The mind and body is connected. So if we have limiting beliefs or blockages, and you've probably heard Lisa talk about, like, we both believe in energy work and Reiki, and one of her biggest catalysts for her healing in IVF is Reiki and energy healing. And so the thing is it's not just about the healing piece, but what happens in our body. Because when we can actually look up here and go, why am I upset about X? Or why am I so trying to control this situation from happening and it's not? And we can actually lean into what are emotions in our body, where is it stored in a certain chakra or in our body, where is there an ailment? And we can actually recognize it and witness it, because we keep ignoring it, but we can actually be a witness It will release an energy. It will release a blockage. And I like to call this like a transmission happens. Like your DNA is physically changed in your body when you actually start recognizing that. And so one of the many ways I did that years ago was energy healing, Reiki healing, meditation, journaling, and really feeling through the emotions. I remember, and I don't know how many ladies can relate to this. I'm sure a lot of people are married or single on IVF, but one of the biggest things for me is I said to myself, gosh, this is probably in 2013 or 14. And I said to myself, why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men? I finally asked myself a question. I keep getting emotionally unavailable men. I'm sure the sex is great. There's nothing else there, right? And why do I keep attracting emotionally unavailable men? Why am I so secure? Why am I codependent? And I listen. And this is the key, ladies. Like, it takes practice to be quiet, but even if you can find pockets of quiet, that is the key, because in the quiet is the knowing, and the knowing connected to source, God, spirit, whatever you relate to. But when you ask the question, spirit will answer, but sometimes you need to listen and get quiet. And my answer was, because you're not available to yourself, because you don't love yourself. And that was like, oh shit.
No, I love everything you're sharing, and loving yourself, trusting your intuition. I mean, you and I both resonate with that so strongly. I mean, we have the answers within us. And I think so much of the time we push that to the side, and it's like, we have the answers, the guidance within us. So once we get quiet, you listen to those whispers, you listen to those nudges, and it can help you move out of from a place of fear or out of alignment into more of an alignment, into the person we're meant to be, or who you're meant to meet. And you can share too, I know how you found your soulmate, and just everything started lining up for you. I think when you completely like let go of any expectations, any, just getting back to who we are, trusting that intuition. Can you speak a little bit on that?
Yeah, definitely. And I there's another question you asked that I didn't answer about really being more bold and unapologetic. And, I grew up pretty much raising myself. Before my mom met my stepdad, I was like my mom was a kid raising a kid. So I pretty much raised myself. So I've always been really kind of outgoing and silly and goofy, but I really felt quieted most of my life. And I think at the core, I've always been an introvert and an extrovert, so I definitely am outgoing.
You can relate to that for sure.
But I also need my own space and my own life. Yeah. But so really, I wouldn't say it was definitely like a domino effect for sure. It took time, but I remember the first thing for me, it really was. You mentioned the whisper, and whispers can be many things. Whispers can be the whispers of our soul. Whispers can be what's out of alignment. There can be a lot of whispers that if we ignore, they will get louder. I promise you. They will get louder in terms of you losing someone in your life, or a relationship, or a job, or a situation. It will be you're not listening to what's the soul alignment, and you keep ignoring it. So then there'll be more disalignment. So really it's listening to the whispers and taking action, even if it's a little action. And I also want to share from what I've learned for years and years of doing this, we sometimes can think that this one whisper that we're avoiding will be a huge hurdle. And sometimes it will be. It'll be probably one of the biggest fucking mountains you ever climb. And sometimes it's like a little tiny anthill. But we put so much preface on, oh my God, I don't want to look at this, that we kind of ignore it. So if you really take it one hurdle and one whisper at a time and take action on that, it will cause a ripple effect. So for instance, one of the things I like to really say to a lot of clients, and I'm totally going to quickly draw something because you guys will relate to it.
Perfect.
Okay, so ladies, whatever it is, right? Whether it's a baby or a relationship or a friendship, whatever is relating to your life, right? There's where we are, where we want to be. Okay. So two things. If we keep thinking we're not where we want to be and that we're not there now, we're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Because we never fully arrive. And if we think we've not arrived, then we never will. And the other thing about that is if we want to go here, right? And we're here, there are so many pathways to get there.
Oh yeah.
But if we keep listening to a whisper, we get closer and closer and closer. We almost go through all of this.
I think you just drew what fertility is like. And fertility, everyone can relate to that. You think it's a straight shot. It's all over the place. And that's life too, you know?
It is life. Yeah. And I think the more you can come back to who am I? What do I want? What makes me happy? Like, but listening to those nudges, like it always comes back to us. And I promise that when we keep coming back to what we want, everything will be a ripple effect with so much more ease and joy and peace and love and less anxiety. And it doesn't mean, because life happens, there's not going to be highs and lows. Absolutely. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, yes, more than answered it. Another thing I love what you preach about, and you embody this, is you own your story, and you do not let outside factors define it. Like, you define it. You set the course for your life, right? As far as like your business, you know, I respect how open you have been about your drive in your business, and then wanting to take a pause and reflect on maybe that's not the route I'm going to go, and kind of regrouping, going within, and like you define it, and you owned your happiness instead of like letting outside factors tell you, no, climb, and you're going to, you know, people burn out that way. If that's not fulfilling. Right. So again, just kind of like owning what makes us happy. And if that means taking a break, which I think you did for a little bit, and then coming back and even more in alignment with what you're called to do. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, last year was such a beautiful lesson for me, because, you know, I speak on, we think we never fully arrive, right? Or we want to arrive somewhere, but we never really fully arrive. Like, yes, you are here. You are here now. Even if you don't have what you want, being an embodiment of that. But also, I always tell my clients, you know, the program that I do with my clients, at the end of it, we create like the soul aligned blueprint. You know, when we go through limiting beliefs and we touch every facet of their life, I mean, we go deep, and we go deep, and we create an embodiment and healing, and really create a turned on soul life in every way. But I always tell my clients at the end of that journey, here is your blueprint, so to speak, but guess what? You get to change your mind.
Yeah.
And this is not set in stone. So
giving yourself permission, right?
Right. I mean, this is,
permission.
Yeah, it comes from your soul, but it also can be written in pencil. And what I mean by that, and touching on what you said, Lisa, is, you know, I went through this tragedy in my life. I finally faced everything I needed to face for myself. I had this like huge awakening. And since I was little, I've always been known that I've been connected at a soul level. And then, you know, spirit told me, I'm also just very connected spiritually, and spirit was like, you're supposed to help other women do this, connecting to their soul self. And so I was like, all right, let's do this. But here's what happened. Two things happened. You know, this is my story, but maybe ladies, you can relate to this in a different way for yourself. But for me, I was told two things. One, this tragedy happened for a reason, and this was my catalyst. So now I'm locked to this tragedy and this trauma of how I arrived to where I was. So that is now going to be my story. Even though I've healed the trauma, even though, you know, I moved through it, that's my story. And so I'm going to stick with it. And two, spirit told me, or my soul told me, I have to do this. And so therefore it is go all in, go home. So what happened for me is when I launched my business, I had so much drive and passion of every ounce of me, but I didn't know how to run a freaking business. And so, you know, even though I was a certified coach and I have a psychology degree and I have the credentials to do what I do, I didn't know how to run a business. So fast forward for me, when I finally, you know, we'll say 2 years in, I spent plethora of investment in my business, over $100,000 in ads and marketing and coaching, and finally built a foundation in my business. And then I started to scale very quickly for, you know, and being an entrepreneur in a business, but for anything, it can be a roller coaster. And I finally hit this point where I was still very aligned in the work I was doing. And in my life, I was aligned. You know, I was creating a life I love. I had found the love of my life. I created a business I love, all of these things, but I kept doing the business based on shoulds. So so what Lisa kind of was mentioning too last year. So at the time, at the end of 2018, you know, I was almost 4 years into my business. Oh my gosh, that's not right. 2.5 years into my business. And I was scaling. I was writing a book. I was doing all of these different things in business, getting ready to speak and all of these things. And I realized this is costing me because, you know, I think external worlds can say, do this, do that, you know, and I was doing that thinking this business will make me happy if I get to this point. Now, even though energetically I was aligned with my work, but I kept shitting myself in business, something I stopped doing in life years ago. I don't shit in my life, but I started doing it in business. So what happened is last year, and we won't go into all the details, but I hit a breaking point where I kind of had a sovereignty and I kind of stepped in and I said, whoa, 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 who are you? You know who you are. What are you truly creating? Because I was doing a podcast, writing a book, scaling my business. I was doing all these things. And I was like, wait a second. I am seeking an external way of building my business to hit 500,000, 1 million, all these things. And I realized actually, I already know the life I want to live. I'm okay making 100 or $200,000 a year. I'm okay having a very small amount of clients and loving the work I do and spending time with my partner and making myself happy and creating the life that I want. And so I hit that point, and it was a really beautiful opportunity for me because I also realized that I had tied, I think this will be important for a lot of ladies listening. I had tied emotionally, physically, spiritually, and I felt so genetically, and I mean this, genetically DNA blood tied to my business because I thought this was the only thing that would make my life and my parents' accident worthwhile. And if I couldn't make my business work, right, or if I couldn't create the business I wanted based on success or whatever, then who am I to do this? Or, you know, so it kind of reached this point last year where I finally started to surrender and really realize, what am I really creating and what do I really want, to separate myself from my business. Because I think so often, something that, I think this will be relatable for women, something we do when we are so like tunnel visioned, focused on a dream or a desire or something that we want in our life, we get so gung-ho on this that nothing else matters. And usually getting so tunnel vision on something usually comes from a tragedy or a pain or something that happened in our life that someone told us we couldn't have it, or something that we've overcome to get there. So we are like, I'm fucking doing this no matter what it takes. But that also keeps us tied to our trauma and our wounding and keeps us stuck in control. And when we get stuck in control, then it's like, Buddha has a saying that it's like, you know, pain or anger, it's like holding a hot coal. So it's like when we have control, we're like holding a hot coal, or we've got our hands wrapped in things. And if we just like surrender and open, the lives we want and every facet will happen. It might take time, but it will happen the way that spirit and it's supposed to energetically.
No, you're speaking everything that I believe in letting go. That's really where supports come in. And, you know, for many who want a baby, you know, you were speaking something, I was taking a few notes because like you were talking about shoulding have a successful business. Like so many women, I think like feel like, oh, I'm this age, I should have a baby, or it's just like all these outside expectations. And it's like, you're missing the joy in your life and you're missing your happiness, right? Your, my brain's like swirling. Sorry.
No, I totally know.
Talking about so many things and I was writing down notes, but it is when we let go and we're going to let go of the how is this all going to work out? Like IVF is one path to motherhood, right? Like there's so many different paths to motherhood. And when you embark on this journey, like you truly have to surrender to the process. But you have control over what lights you up, what brings you joy, your own happiness. And also you touched upon something about, I kind of like was thinking about failure. And failure, there's many different explanations I think what failure can be. And so many people may look at their lives in certain situations like, oh, that was a failure. Well, you know, like I really believe like our failures teach us so much, you know. They're there to to guide us to maybe the path that was meant for us, or just kind of flipping the word failure around, you know? Can you speak on that?
I have a great, I'm totally going to quote myself.
Yeah, no, good.
But I wrote this blog post earlier in the year. So Lisa kind of touched on it. I hit this point in my life last year where I had finally, at the end of 2018, arrived where I thought I would arrive, right? I finally started making all the success in my business. I was doing work that I loved. I have this amazing partner. I have this life I loved. Like, who am I to not have it all, right? And I finally had got there, and then I realized, wait a second, this is costing me emotionally and physically and financially, and like something's not here. And so I kind of slid down this mountain, so to speak, and I had this kind of come to Jesus moment with myself. And I said, I don't know what way this looks, but it doesn't look this way.
Yeah.
And after I kind of came through that, which I'm kind of like on the tail end of coming out of that I started really rearranging my business in a completely different way in the beginning of this year. Unfortunately, the pandemic changed some of those plans, but that's okay. But one of the quotes I had is, our fear of failure is only our own definition we've created for ourselves. No one can tell you what that is, and you get to fall towards your own greatness.
Yeah, I read that. Maybe that's what spurred me to think of this, because it's, well, can you explain what your quote means to you?
Yeah, I think for so often we create our own definition of what success and failure is. Nobody else does. Sure, we can blame society, or if you don't have the baby, or if you're not married by this age, or what. But no, like that the society is defining that. But no, like, what do you define? Because
it's a lie, right? Yeah, we get to define it.
It's a lie, and it's a should, and it's all these things. So here's the thing is, when we think we've failed at something, that's only the definition we've created, meaning we've created it based on external factors, based on our own shaming, our own judgment, our own fear, our own limiting beliefs, our own whatever, childhood shit. And so that means we get to recreate it. And failure is not always a bad thing. Failure can look like, I failed because I thought this happened, but in reality, we get to create a whole new reality. And sometimes we can fall forward to our own greatness. And that means we have to fail to see that. If I didn't hit a certain point in my life where I thought, okay, when I arrive here, it's going to happen, and then I felt that I failed, then I wouldn't be where I am today without that. And I think so often, I talk about, we don't ever fully arrive, because when we think once I have X, everything will be great. Sure, it'll be great, but we're always arriving. And I can't tell you how many times, especially in the last 10 years, I've evolved and shifted, and I've peeled layers of myself, and I've faced my ego and my spirituality and who I thought I was, and I've changed personalities. Like, we're always shifting and growing into a different and best version of ourselves if we choose to, and it can be hard. And then we also think, oh, I thought when I'd be here I'd be happy, but we have to be happy now. Like, are we here? Yes. You're here now.
The baby's not going to make you happy. I know you agree with this too. You have to fully love yourself, and love yourself so much that it's like, we were at the talk together, the Nicole Montez's event with Lisa Nichols.
Yeah, years ago.
I always remember Lisa Nichols from The Secret sharing this, that, love yourself, just, it's overflowing, right? You're pouring, like, imagine pouring the cup with the saucer overflowing, right? And it's like you serve from the overflow. Like, we have to nurture ourselves, fill ourselves so much that we're like living and serving from the overflow. I just thought that was a beautiful.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, a mutual friend of Lisa and I's, her name is Lisa. We were actually just talking about this today because, she had invited, I'm doing
Lisa
this.
Sharp, right?
Lisa Sharp.
Yeah. I interviewed her first little sister. The last one was Lisa.
Oh, cool. Lisa's so great. And I love her because she's so great with like, her business, which is, Right, Stylish Sparrow. And so I'm doing a little workshop of hers where she's helping us put outfits together and stuff. And it's really great. But anyway, we were talking about how important it is, to have boundaries and to really, what does make me happy. And part of that overflow is we need to fill our cups up. And I think so often, one of the things I teach my clients is filling your cup up is not just self-care. And self-care can be one of many things. filling your cup up might be going for a run. It might be meditating. It might be having sex. It might be having a bath. It might be gardening. It might be silence. It might be dancing, and whatever it is. And it could be a multitude of all of those things, but it could be setting boundaries. That's a big one. It could be having time constraints on things. It could be saying no or saying yes when you want to say no, or saying no when you want to say yes. And so I think with that too is we forget that we have the power, and then we start giving our power away. And when we can start taking our power back, I'm then realizing like what lights me up, what nourishes me, and who am I? Because here's the thing, and trust me when I say this, so many of us, we are humans raising humans, and so many of us are shifting and healing wounds from our childhood. And whether you believe in past lives or not, then there's past life shit coming into this too. But we're humans raising humans. So if you are a human wanting to have a baby and you're so stuck in it has to be this way, you are going to put that on your baby. If you think life has to look a certain way, if you do not love your body, you're going to put that on your kid. If you're not happy with who you are as a person, if you are not so completely, utterly, madly in love with every facet of who you are, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, then you are going to ripple out onto your baby and to your child, and they are not going to be fully in that loving wholeness of who they are, because you are the creator. Well, there's the creator, and then you're the creator of that beautiful child, and your energy flows to the nutrients of creating that baby, and then the baby comes out, and then you get to actually teach this amazing freaking human as the human that you are, giving them love and grace.
I'm getting chills because you're speaking everything. I mean, I just, there's so much women can do in this prepare stage of getting to become a mother, and like, I felt so connected to our little soul before I even knew, who was. It's just like there's so many ways to nurture, and it's all like that energetic connection to the baby's soul and spirit. I mean, there's so much that we could go into, but no, I completely resonate with everything you're saying. Just feeling in alignment, feeling whole within ourselves in all facets, and that's like why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to get this message out there. It's like it's all interconnected: mind, body, spirit, and we have to nurture ourselves first and foremost before nurturing another little human, right? I mean,
and something to just touch on real quick is whether you believe this or not, but our souls and our children's souls choose us. So my soul chose my parents in this life. And your children's souls get to choose you as
parents. God, making me cry. Do you realize in my dedication, so my book is dedicated to Olivia, and I said, thank you for choosing me as your mama. I was just like, oh my gosh, you just spoke.
But it's true. It's like our souls choose us for a reason. And so ladies, I want you to really think about that. If your little human that you want to bring, or multitude if you have twins or whatever, but if whatever souls you're bringing into this world, they are choosing you, what type of mother and parent and human do you want to be for that little being? Do you want to be the one that's insecure and stuck in control of this is the way it has to be, or do you want to love yourself so madly and deeply that is their witness to you?
What are you doing to me, Des?
I'm sorry. I always make people cry all the time. Everybody's like, I always cry around you.
Oh my gosh. No, but I love what you do. You just shine such a bright light in the world. And I'll link your website, DesiRaeCraft.com. And you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram. Anywhere else we can find you?
No, all the things. I'm a little quiet more often with the pandemic and just honoring some stuff, but I'm around and I'm seeing clients, and I'm, you
got a few things on your plate, planning a wedding,
Planning a wedding, yes, that too.
Oh, well, thank you for joining me today. I love seeing you. It's been a while since I've seen you, but we can connect this way. And for anyone else who's interested in support on their fertility journey, reach out to me. I can be reached at ivfmanifestingamiracle.com. And thank you to everyone who's already supported in buying my book, Hold On Baby. And it's on Amazon, and paperback will be coming in June. So
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, love you, Des.
Love you too, girl.
Talk to you. Bye.
Bye.